What are those files? It's easy to lose track of work and home when you work from home. The constant distractions, the loud neighbors, the very occasional TV break, maybe screaming kids. Someone who's got this whole work from home thing figured out is Andrew Rea of Binging with Babish. He built his culinary empire from a 45 square foot kitchen in Harlem to billions of views and a Hot Ones appearance. I'm Gabe Bolt, here to show you the small shifts that you can make in your life that will make a huge impact in your financial future. This is Big Change. Today, I'm interviewing Andrew to talk about how he found his success in the evolution of his home kitchen studio. I don't know about you, but when I work from home, I'm really working from the couch. I interrupt my own flow with household chores and other daily distractions. Literally anything but work. You don't need to be a genius to know that not having a designated workspace turns that work from home dream into a nightmare. A recent study showed that 54% of people find they're even more distracted while working from home. A big reason for that distraction trap is not having space to sit and focus. You don't need an entire room designated to your home office, but with some smart functionality, you can turn a small footprint into a workspace that fits your needs. A lot of us have just started working from home, but Binging with Babish's Andrew Rea has been doing it since he got started back in 2017. He faced all of the familiar challenges like a cramped apartment, loud roommates, and constant distractions. Now, at over 8 million subscribers, Andrew has increased his channel's output over the last 6 months and moved into his dream home. If it sounds like a lot to handle, that's because it is. But it was the simple things that he did that helped him grow that first Babish episode into a culinary universe. How'd he do it? Hey, Andrew, what's up? Really excited to talk to you. Big fan of your channel. Thanks for taking the time to kind of sit down and talk to me here on Big Change.
Thank you so much for having me, man. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it.
So have you always kind of wanted to work full-time from home?
I never intended to work from home. I never intended to be a YouTube creator. You being a YouTuber yourself, I'm sure share that same origin story of, I started making something that I enjoyed, and lo and behold, it's my job now.
So would you mind just telling me about what was that original space? Where did you kind of start? What was your original setup like?
I was working out of a kitchen that was very much not designed to make a cooking show out of. One example that I like to use is that anytime I wanted to get something out of the fridge, I would have to move the camera.
What were some of the pain points of that working setup?
So setup and breakdown in the apartment in Harlem was a huge pain because I had a roommate and I couldn't leave things set up. Lights, sound, cameras, dishes. Everything was an intrusion upon anybody that I'm living with. I tried to have things torn down at night so we could walk into the living room because otherwise there was a tripod in the way. And it was a huge pain and it's not something I miss at all.
Was there a specific time that you realized like this is it, I gotta get out of here, or was it more like a process?
So one day I woke up and I was like, I need to get my own place. And it just, I'd say within a week, I had signed a lease. That's just how I operate. The house that I'm in right now, it was the second house I ever visited. And the first house that I ever visited, I made an offer on, but I wasn't able to get a mortgage. It's the only reason that I'm not there instead of here.
Did you run into any problems buying an older home?
It's a mixed bag getting a brownstone. I would say if you're looking at brownstones, make sure that they hooked up the exhaust to your heater so that it isn't just filling the walls with carbon monoxide like mine was.
That is wicked crazy. What other types of distractions did you have that you had to deal with?
Just working in the place that I'm supposed to live. I didn't have any work-life separation. I would say 90% of my square footage was dedicated to content creation. The 10% that wasn't was where I slept at night. Getting a house that also could function as a workspace and had separation between the two was vital.
Would you mind just telling me a little bit about your kitchen workspaces that you have?
I have 2 studios here, Studio A, Studio B. Studio A is the one that we're in right now. That's where I make my show. Downstairs is Studio B. And then over here, where you can't see, straight this way, is the offices. In this situation, where you buy a brownstone, you would rent out the space to offset the cost of your mortgage a little bit. But instead of spending money on an office space, I've decided to turn this into my office space.
So you have the two kitchens there and then also a kitchen in your own space?
Yes, and I have not a rule, but I try as hard as I can not to film anything upstairs, because I do want that, like, even just subconsciously, a separation between home and work. There's only a ceiling right now that separates the two things, but it's very important for me to have that distinction. So when I go upstairs, I'm not still thinking about work. I'm able to just unwind, put on a t-shirt, be myself, and you can't beat the commute, honestly.
So do you feel like getting into a new space changed your creative process at all, or opened up any new possibilities?
I don't think the show would have been possible from the get-go if I couldn't have made it out of my house. Moving into this space definitely opened up a lot of creative possibility, because there's more space. Yep. In my last place, it was so shallow that if I ever filmed an episode with a guest star or something, we would have to leave the kitchen entirely to be able to pass by each other, because it was about that deep. Little things like that have opened up a lot of comfort and latitude to try new things, but also just having space, having a backyard, that is huge. If we want to make rabbit stew from Lord of the Rings, I can do it over an open fire and be accurate.
That rabbit stew sounds very interesting. I've never cooked like that over an open fire.
I can't recommend it, especially not in the dead of summer when I did it. Don't do it.
So what advice would you give to yourself if you were still at the beginning of this process?
To learn from my mistakes and view them as the learning experiences that they are, because at the time, they sometimes feel like the end of the world. But in a week, in a month, and sometimes in a year's time, you look back on them as, wow, I learned a lot from that experience, and that was an important, formative moment for me.
Man, that is just awesome advice. I absolutely agree. What would be your weirdest work from home habit?
Probably be the few times that I've made the show with no pants on. That's not a joke. That's happened. You can't see my pants right now. I'm wearing an apron. You can't see them. You don't know if I'm wearing pants or not. That's for me to know.
Something that I found interesting was Andrew's approach to setting up his studio and identifying his work from home pain points. His biggest issue was having to spend hours setting up and breaking down the set, and then editing at the kitchen table. No one wants to live around tripods and boom mics all day. But don't get discouraged. You don't need a full commercial kitchen and a production studio in your basement to make your dreams a reality. Even before blowing up, Andrew made the most out of the space that he had, and that is the key. After our conversation, I was inspired. I knew I had to design my own space to get out of my own creative rut. Truth is, I never had a desk, and I used to just kind of work from pretty much anywhere, in the kitchen, on the floor, or sitting on the couch. First, I needed to make room. I cleared out some of my clutter and even moved my TV to where I couldn't see it. I also have a habit of leaving things everywhere. Some people call that being disorganized, but whatever you call it, having random camera gear everywhere can be really distracting. And now I've got all my cables and cords and drives and everything all neatly organized. After setting up my own space, I can promise you guys that a little bit goes a long way when it comes to increasing your productivity and your peace of mind. Creating your own zone at home starts simple enough. First, you want to identify your personal needs and wants for your work environment. Make a list of must-haves and pain points. For me, it was as simple as buying some storage solutions and removing all of the distractions from my designated space. The aroma candles, those were just a nice touch, but for you, it might be something different. Don't be afraid to dream big and create the space that accommodates your needs. If you need an extra room to get things done, remember that you have options. Before selling your house and buying a new one, consider refinancing your home to make those dream renovations. Then head over to Rocket Mortgage and explore your options. As for the brownstone, I'm working on it.